I think I've always been someone that enjoys connecting the dots and applying creative ways of thinking to a problem. And so early on, after a brief stint studying psychology, that led me to a kind of uncommon combination of studying marketing and visual arts. And so when I graduated, a natural place for me was to go into design, advertising and branding agencies. And they were fun, stimulating and exciting workplaces, and I got to put my brain to all sorts of things. I worked on increasing blood donations, simplifying insurance, and launching plant-based milk, for example. So I thought a lot about society and why people do what they do. But after a time, I started to question and lose interest in promoting brands and products. And I began to wonder how these skills could be used in other ways. And at the time, I was quite interested in waste, sustainability, and the circular economy. And I saw a lot of opportunities for these ways of communicating really succinctly, understanding people's behaviour, and really unpacking questions as ways that could be applied to those challenges too. And that became my new goal and ultimately led me to behavioural science. There are so many skills that I feel like are comparable between the two industries. Both behavioural science and branding and advertising are really centred on behaviour and why people do what they do. But ultimately in advertising, you learn a lot of skills about how to communicate succinctly and clearly, how to condense, thousands of words of information into key messages and points, and also how ideas spread and why. And I think those things are really beneficial in behavioural science as well, and they help me a lot in understanding how change happens. I went back to uni and studied a master's in environment and sustainability, and I really wanted to understand those core underpinning principles of sustainability. And really, key drivers of those changes and what we were hoping to achieve. And then now, working at BehaviourWorks and doing my PhD, I get to apply those combination of skills every day. So now I use behavioural science to understand behaviour in waste and circular economy challenges. I think a lot about the scale of change in sustainability, in waste and in circular economy. And I think about the tension and in that change between the scope of change that's needed in a system and global level, and then the change that people can make in their day-to-day life. And I think bringing those two things together is both a challenge and an opportunity. And I think behavioural science is well placed in that kind of conversation, because understanding people's behaviour can also tell us a lot about what's happening in a system too. So to give an example from some research I'm doing in my PhD, I'm looking at how to enable people to repair electrical appliances when they break. And one of the things I'm learning from looking and talking to people about that is that they come up to these barriers in the system. They're really excited to fix their vacuum, for example, but then they can't get spare parts. And so that change is a system change in how we would enable the provision of spare parts. And so where I think this gets really interesting is that the solutions can become really multidisciplinary and numerous. So we can look at product design, new policies, launching new business models. And I think that that kind of possibility to use behaviour to understand individual and system change and then work towards solutions that can come from a range of places is quite exciting.